Let's uncover the top 5 dangers that can turn our globetrotting into a perilous journey. Number 5. Western peacocking. Standing out is cool, but be cautious. Peacocking might attract attention you'd rather avoid, especially when it comes to romantic encounters. Number 4. Transactional relationships. More than money matters. Fellow passport bros, don't lead with your wallet. Genuine connections are richer than any monetary exchange. Let authenticity define your journey. Number 3. Shady expats. Choose your travel buddies wisely. Shady expats can promise the world but deliver trouble. Surround yourself with reliable companions to enhance your experience. Let's make every adventure unforgettable and secure. Download the Passportbros app now, available on the App Store and Google Play. How to make a bag with Passportbros. Hey, you savvy travelers and aspiring millionaires. Want to turn your wanderlust into wealth? Passportbros is your ticket to living the high life, and here's how to cash in under a minute. First things first, download the Passportbros app. It's like having a personal travel guru in your pocket. Now imagine sharing your Passportbros partner link like a drunk sailor spills his secrets in Bangkok, loud, proud, and without holding back. Spread that link like wildfire. The more you share, the fatter your wallet gets. With competitive commissions and real-time tracking, making money has never been this fun. So why wait? Join the Passportbros Revenue Program today. Download the Passportbros app now, available on the App Store and Google Play.
What's going on, family? It is your man, BMT, in the house, man. We got a great guest for you guys today. Bringing on my man, JayFocused. This is one of the guys that I've been following for quite some time. He's constantly posting content in the Passportbros app as well. This is like a real traveler. Like, my brother been all around the world, all these different countries. You know, most guys go to the same kind of 4 or 5 different countries, okay? But this guy's like I said, he's very well traveled, man. I'm really happy to have him here today so he can give us his perspective on countries from all around the world. He's been all throughout Africa, Europe, and Latin America. So I want to go ahead and bring on to the show today my brother here, JayFocused in the building. What's going on, JayFocused?
Yo, everything is everything, man. Let me do my little intro right now. This is the world traveling, grandstanding, captain of the game, your favorite uncle, the incomparable JayFocused. Let's get it started.
Let's get it, man. I like that. Let's get it, man. I'm super excited to have you today here, brother. Like I said, I've been following your channel. Every time you drop a video, I'm like, oh, let me see, because you give reality to traveling. Like, you show sides of the travel that most YouTubers don't, most content creators don't. You show the good and the bad. That's what I love about your channel. Let me catch super chat real quick, and got some questions for you, bro. I want to give a shout out to my man with the first super chat of the day. GMT Travels in the building. He's out there in Kenya. I ran into Gooch a few times overseas, man. Shout out to you.
Yeah, Gooch is the real dude. Shout out to Gooch.
You know Gooch too?
Yeah, Gooch is my guy.
All right, he says, salute at JayFocused, had a lot of experience in Africa, my guy. All right, shout out to my man Gooch. So if you don't mind, man, like where you at on the globe, or what area you in the globe at right now?
Right now, man, I'm on an island right now, man. I don't even know if I should let people know where I'm at exactly, but I'm on an island, man. If you've been following me the last couple of months, I more or less was kicking it in East Africa. Everybody, knows that East Africa is where it goes down. I mean, you can pretty much close your eyes and like put your finger down somewhere in the East African region, and you're really not going to go wrong. You feel me? So I was doing it real big in East Africa for a minute, moved my way down to South Africa, then headed over to West Africa, specifically Senegal, and then I was in Cape Verde. And so after Cape Verde, I'm just like, man, I want to see some other little islands that people don't really go to. So I'm doing that right now. We'll see how long I'll stay out here. But yeah, man, the game never stops. I'm just continuing to move, explore, and see new parts of the world, bring fresh content, places that everybody and their mama haven't already gone to. And you'll catch me in some of the, the classic places as well, because I like those too. But I like to expand. So I'll do a couple, of the classic ones, then I'll throw some new ones in. So it's always fresh for you.
Okay. And before we get into it, I got a ton of questions for you, man. Like what gave you that incentive to start traveling the world? What got you out there?
Okay, man. So the genesis of me traveling basically started when I was 18. So I grew up, my family, we didn't really travel like that. We didn't have those kind of funds. So I got my first passport. I think I was like 19 or 20. But when I was 18, my older brother, he was actually living in San Diego. And if you know anything about San Diego, it's right next to Tijuana, Mexico, right? And so, yeah, I was 18. I'm underage. I can't drink with my older brother. But him and his homies, they would go down to, to Tijuana so we could all drink together. I'm 18, they're 22, 23 or whatever. And we just, having a blast across the border. So I was like, hey, wait, I'm in America, best country in the world. I'm a grown up. I have all these rights. I can vote and do, XYZ, but my own country doesn't let me drink. I'm a grown ass man. You know what I'm saying? And I don't feel like an adult. I can't even drink. But if I cross this invisible line, 20 minutes, 30 minutes away from downtown San Diego, I'm a grown up now. I got rights. I could do whatever I want. The laws completely changed. The flavor changes. The prices are cheaper. I'm like, man, nobody ever told me this growing up. So I was like, okay, I see the world in a whole nother perspective now. Like, is it just Tijuana, or is it like the whole world is like very different from the States? And so that planted the bug. And so back then you didn't even need a passport. You could go to Mexico with a driver's license, with a high school ID. As long as they knew you were American, you had an American accent, especially being black, they didn't care. They were just like, come on. 3 a.m, 4 a.m at the border, you would just cross, and they didn't care back then. But after time, they made you get passports and stuff. But anyway, at that time too, it was pretty easy to move around the Caribbean without a passport. A lot of people don't know this. Back in the day, in the 2000s, you could actually go to some places like Jamaica, et cetera, with like, driver's license, maybe a birth certificate, but a lot of dudes didn't have passports. Passports were not the thing. But then I finally like wanted to go somewhere further away. And I was like, you know what? I do need a passport. And so for most Americans, you're going to start off going to the Caribbean and Latin America, right? because it's closed, the flights are cheap, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So that's where I started. That was my my training ground. That's how I got my Spanish up. You know, your brother, a brother's habla español. I can speak Spanish. I can speak Portuguese. Okay. But it just started off with Mexico. You know, that was my, you know, getting my feet wet, just going crazy in Mexico. And I was like, okay, I like this.
Okay, nice, man. That's nice. I didn't even know that. I know I was in Jamaica back in like early 03. And I'm trying to remember if I had a passport, but I don't really quite remember.
You could do either way. Like, of course, they're going to take you with a passport, but back then you could do it with, you know, like with a driver's license or with a birth certificate. Like, I remember distinctly the first time I went to DR, there was a dude. I had my passport. I already had my passport, but there was a dude. He was checking in at the airline counter, and he showed them like his birth certificate. He was like, "No, I don't have a passport." He just gave him the birth certificate. He got on the plane. So it used to be a thing, but they stopped all that.
You know, Barber World, I don't know if you're familiar with Barber World, but he said,
yeah, that's the homie. That's the homie. He was on the channel. He was actually on my channel.
Okay, shout out to Barber World. But he says he did a show, said one of the realest things that I didn't really think about until he said it. He was like, a passport actually isn't necessarily for freedom, it's more so of a restriction. Right? Because, like, you know, we think passport, boom, we out. But the fact that we have to have a passport, we just can't show an American ID, kind of tells you that, yeah, we got to move by certain rules and regulations in these different countries, and plus the United States as well. So
yeah, I see the perspective you're coming from. You're coming from like, it's not that it frees you, it's like it's something required. It's a requirement. That's how you're looking at it. I see you.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, I said I wasn't even looking at it that way until, like I said, Barber World had pointed that out. And I said, damn, you're right. You know, technically speaking, we're human beings. We should be able to do what, you know, go where we want to go. But
and it used to be like that. Like, I don't know if you know, I don't want to get too much into a history lesson, but like before World War II, you could pretty much move around the globe. Like, I was reading this book. I like to read. There was this brother. It's about this black dude living in Russia, like almost 100 years ago. And he was talking about he would go from Turkey to Russia to like Germany with no passport. Like, it wasn't really a concept back then. Like, unless you were like a sailor or some shit like that, like most of the time they just knew you were American. Like, maybe you would have your driver's license or something, but it was just, the borders are not the way we think they're supposed to be now. You know, this is more of a modern concept. But
yeah. I mean, thank God for the passport, man. But it's definitely like, you know, in some cases, it's kind of like a modern reality of the restrictions that these world governments kind of put in place, right? Because of course, a lot of people would be trying to go to America if they was able to get that American visa. That's all around the world. So it works in reverse to a certain degree too. Because I would say damn near a large portion of the world would be in America if they could be in America.
If we had like a borderless society, then yeah, that would be chaos. But I don't think it was so much that like before it was borderless. It was just more like, especially not for the richest countries. The richest countries, they weren't taking everybody and their mama. But I feel like there was just more of a passport is not the highest authority by God, you know, like how it is now, where it's like, if you don't have that, they don't even want to talk to you. Like, there's no conversation. You're not getting on a plane. Where back in the days, it was like, look, I don't have this document, but I'm obviously American. Like, you want Americans here. And it was no issue like that.
Right. That's facts. So take us a little bit on your journey, man. You say you started off in Latin America. Kind of give us a quick rundown of all the countries.
Yeah, man. So I've been to, at this point, I believe 82 countries.
Family, did y'all just hear that? My man been to 80. Now I'm thinking I'm big dog. I've been 13, but he just said 82 countries, bro.
Hey man, I went to the ones that you don't need to go to, man. I skipped. I mean, some of the ones I went to you could skip. So, you know, I'll put it to you like that. But yeah, man, 82 countries, like it's like an addiction. Like, once you start dipping your toe in that water, at least for me, that's how it was. That, you know, I was like, all right, I'm just going to see 10 countries, then I'll be done. And then I saw so many Latin American countries. I said, well, I want to see every country in Latin America, right? And so I pretty much have seen every country in Latin America. So then after that, it was like, all right, I want to see Europe, because, you know, Europe is where, you know, the culture of Latin America kind of came from, a piece of it anyway. And I said, I already speak Spanish. So when I go to Europe, the first country I want to go to is Spain, right? So I actually lived in Spain for a few years. So I have a European perspective, because I didn't just go there as a tourist. You know, I paid taxes in Europe. I've, you know, had European ID cards and everything you could do in Europe, you know, for the most part, I've done, not just in Spain, in other countries as well. So I have a whole nother perspective for most Americans, especially Black Americans, of seeing the way they do things versus the way that we do things in the States. And then after seeing Europe, I was like, all right, I want to see Asia because, you know, Asia is humongous. So I did my Asian travels, you know, many years ago. I'm going to go back. That's going to be on the channel. You know, look out for that. And then it was just like there's one Black spot like I haven't gone to. And it kind of hit me like, dude, you haven't been to Africa. Like, how have you not been to Africa at all? And so the first country I went to in Africa was Ethiopia. And it was random how I went there. It was like I was actually in Thailand and I met a brother from DC and he was, you know, chopping it up with me. He's a big traveler like me. He was like, yo, bro, have you ever been to Africa? I said, no. I said, like, I wouldn't even know where to start. You know what I'm saying? There's so many countries there. You know, there was no Passportbros movement about Africa whatsoever, right? And so he was like, look, I got receipts. He was showing me on his phone, like, look, they are bad and they will mess with us. And I said, really? He was like, look, I don't got no reason to BS you, right? He's like, he put me in with like his homies out that way. So I go to Ethiopia. I know nobody except his homies or whatever. I go out there. I have a blast, man. It really changed my perspective on the continent. And then I said, well, if Ethiopia is like this, I need to see some more. You know, is it just a fluke or is Africa really welcoming to Black Americans? And so from there, I started off with Uganda, I think after that, Kenya, Rwanda, and then I just wanted more and more and more, man. So right now I'm at 20 African countries I've been to, 20 African countries, over 20 European countries. Asia, I think I got like maybe 10. All of Latin America, basically. I haven't been to Venezuela yet. I'll say that. You know, I want to go there. But I mean, as far as Latin America, I feel like I've done my due diligence. I can pretty much, you know, converse on any country out that way. So yeah, man, for me, really Africa is the final frontier. But I just love everywhere, man. I'm not going to be limited to being, you know, he's an African, you know, traveler or African focused YouTuber. I'm not going to be considered a Latin American focused YouTuber. I'm just, you know, I'm just a traveling dude, man, overall.
Okay. And which is your least favorite country? Like which country you just would never go back to again?
Okay. Least favorite. So I could probably break it down by continent, man. I think my least favorite country in Europe was Bulgaria. Bulgaria, Bulgaria. Man, Bulgarian people, there are some women there that are, you know, quote unquote choosing brothers or like mess with us, but I just didn't like the energy, man. People were just so negative. You know, just the average person you meet on the street is the exact opposite of Latin America, where people are like hopeful, optimistic, you know, they got a good energy to them. Even if they don't really like you, they'll still deal with you in like a pleasant way because it's a polite society, right? Pretty much anywhere in Latin America, it's pretty polite. They're not polite. I can't really say they're like super racist, but like I came through the like immigration and a whole plane of white people. I was the only Black dude there that got off the plane, and I was the only dude that got stopped. And they gave me like, yo, why are you here? How long are you staying? Like, show me documents, all this stuff. And it's visa free for Americans, but you know, it's still up to the discretion of the guy who, you know, the agent. You know, they can ask you as many questions or, you know, do whatever if they suspect something. So yeah, man, Bulgaria, that was one of the worst experiences. And the funny thing though is like, I got a homie who's Bulgarian, cool dude, real cool guy. So it's not so much that I hate Bulgarians or anything like that. It's just the experience was just terrible overall. Like the Airbnb dude was like on some stuff. Just overall, it's not a place I would go back to.
Interesting, man. And I see you've been to Kazakhstan. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with my man, Flight Manager. Just had him on the show earlier.
Yeah. I caught it. I caught that talk. Yeah, he's an interesting brother, man. He's got his own style with the fedoras and stuff, man. Shout out to him. Kazakhstan is an interesting place. So it's been many years since I've been there. That was one of the first videos that blew up on my channel because y'all may not know. Sorry?
No, I see that right here.
Yeah. Y'all may not know this, but I had a different, like my channel used to be called American Guy Travels. That was the first name. Then I switched it to JayFocused because I let this site stay dormant for a couple of years. But man, Kazakhstan really put me on the map as far as the YouTube game. Kazakhstan is wild. It's unlike anywhere you've ever been, and especially when I went, they had never seen black people. So like this, like you can see us getting mobbed, just people walking up to us, grandmas, you know, cousins, auntie, everybody just like, oh my God, a black person. Like this is something you don't experience in Latin America ever, 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 ever. In Europe, forget about it. But Kazakhstan, because it's landlocked, you know, they never had a lot of immigration. They didn't have ports where, you know, ships would come in and, you know, blacks would come or whatever. So it's still kind of like untouched territory as it comes to black men. Now, of course, there's more than there were when I first went, but I think still it's like one of those hidden gems for brothers out in Central Asia.
Nice, man. And I don't know if you know the story, but my man Flight Madness kind of got into it with some Kazakhs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Women. Did you get that?
Oh, yeah, man. Too? It goes down. Yeah, I got my own little story. I talked about it on my channel. There was an incident, well, an almost incident. This was like the day or the second day that I first arrived in the country. I was minding my business. It's during the daytime, like 3, 4 in the afternoon, and they have a subway, like an underground. I go to the underground, you know, I'm just trying to get my lay of the city. I wanted to, you know, start on one end and take it to the other side of the city. So I go to the underground. It's not like super crowded. Don't think it's like New York or anything like that. It's still a relatively small city. So there's a couple people, you know, in and out, moving and doing whatever. And I'm waiting on the platform for the subway car to come. And there's this guy. He's probably like 5'6", 5'7", kind of like a Bruce Lee appearance, you know. And that's not clowning him. He just kind of had like a Bruce Lee-ish appearance or whatever. But dude was just like mean mugging me. And, you know, that's universal. Like, it don't matter where you're from. You're from New York, you're from LA, you're from Texas or whatever. You know what that look is. Like, it's a look where like, okay, I'm curious. This is a guy I don't see all the time. And then there's a look like, yo, I got a problem. I want to address it. Like, I don't know if this dude mess with my sister or, you know, mess with my girl or whatever. It was that type of look, like on sight, like, let's go type of a look. And, you know, brother staring into my soul or whatever. And he wasn't alone. He had backup. So he had another guy with him. And the other guy was like, you could tell he was less turned up. The guy staring at me was turned up. And the other guy was maybe a little bit bigger, you know, and they're not far away from me either. And we're just sitting at the platform and he's playing, you know, them eye fighting games and shit. Like, I'm gonna look away. And I'm just like, you know, you're not gonna punk me out here. Like, whatever happens, happens. I'm not looking for trouble. I'm never looking for trouble. But if you're going to bring it to me, I'm not going to tuck tail. You know what I'm saying? So especially when I'm not doing anything wrong. Now, if I'm doing something wrong, then whatever. Right. So so what happens is then all of a sudden, you know, the subway car comes or whatever. And I seen like a security guy comes over. And I think he could kind of feel the energy that was going on. He was probably observing from the side and he kind of like walks in and then, you know, that was the end of it or whatever. But as far as the nightlife, I have seen some stuff go down where people got approached or whatever. And I think one of the first things being from the States that we would think of is like, oh, they don't like black people. But you got to understand, Kazakhstan is just a different country. They fight each other. They'll fight white dudes. Like I was telling you, one of my homies, he's Bulgarian, right? White dude, big tall guy, like 6'4" or something, solid built, right? They tried him out there. You know what I'm saying? So it's not even about being black. It's about being foreign. Like they know you're not Kazakh. So it's territorial. You know what I'm saying? You're not Kazakh. I don't know you. Why are you here? That's the energy that they bring to you. Like you would probably get in the hood anywhere in America, right? That same like, yo, who you know around here? Like, you know, that type of energy is kind of out there. And then of course too, you know, when it comes to the women, there is a level of jealousy. Now, that being said, I've gone out to clubs. I picked up girls in the club. You can see the videos on my channel of me going up to girls. I'm talking to them. Girls are smiling. I got Kazakh guys behind me. You know, they all high fives and stuff. So I don't want you to think it's everybody in Kazakhstan is on some, you know, on site, let's go type of thing. But that energy is definitely there. And you need to remember what country you're in. You're not in the West. You're not in South America. These dudes can be territorial. And you know, like the story Flight Madness had, you know, it didn't come to blows, you know, thankfully, if you're kind of smart about it, but you do need to be aware when you're going to Kazakhstan. But that being said, I got another homie, you know, big dark-skinned brother from Florida. He loves Kazakhstan. That's his favorite country in the world. He's probably there right now. We chop it up here and there. So, yeah, man, if you want to go to Kazakhstan, you're curious about it, go. I wouldn't let, you know, these kind of stories scare you from going there if you're determined to go.
Okay, so we discussed your most least favorite. That was Bulgaria. What is your favorite country so far?
Damn, man.
That's a
Favorite?
hard one. Like you want?
Oh my God,
you
that's
can give
hard.
us a range. You give us a few.
That's like somebody asks you your favorite rapper. Like on Monday, you might say this person. Tuesday, you might say somebody else. At the moment, what is my favorite country?
If you want to do like a top 5, that's cool too.
Top 5. Okay. Top 5 is easier. I'll say I gotta throw DR in the top 5. And I haven't been to DR in a long time, bro. I haven't been to DR in a long time. But I will say DR was like the country that like it just clicked for me. Like I love Mexico. Mexico was my first country. But when I got to DR, I was like, I felt Dominican. You know, not saying that I wanted to feel Dominican, but they made me feel Dominican. Like that's what the energy was like out there. And you know, I started to talk like them. I love the rum, I love the mamajuana, I love the food, I love the merengue, the bachata, like all that shit. Like it just felt like it was in my blood, you know, maybe an ancestor or something like that. So I can't say top 5 without DR. I've been away too long. I got to get back out that way. Where else? This is gonna surprise people, but Spain, man. Spain, it's like a love-hate relationship. I lived there 3 years. There's things about Spain I hated, and there's things I loved. There were people I met who were like amazing, and there were people who were, you know, on some completely other-ish. But just overall, you know, Spain is like, it's just energy, it's just life. I like the culture. I like, you know, just certain experiences that you can only have there. And I had my homie there with me, so it, you know, our energies kind of played off each other. So I gotta throw Spain in there on the top 5. Where else? Shit. Man, I feel like I gotta throw Rwanda in there too. Rwanda too is like a love-hate thing, man. I've been to Rwanda 3 trips, and like when I hate it, but when it goes well, it goes really well. It's a very polarizing place. I don't know if I'll go back anytime soon, but you know, I was there recently, so I gotta throw that up in the mix. Where else? That's 3. I gave you 3 already. Shit, where else? Thailand. I put Thailand in there. So
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, man. Thailand is everything, man. It's really everything. Like I went scuba diving in Thailand. I love Thai food. I love like the freedom you feel in Thailand. Like I'm not like such a big fan of Thai women, not really a fan at all, I would say. But it's just like the everything vibe of it, because you know it's a hub. You know, you got people from Sweden, you got people from France, you got you know, you got Africans in Thailand, you got the whole world is in Thailand. So I gotta throw Thailand in there, and then a 5th one. Shit. I might say Mexico, man. I might even throw Mexico in there because I love the food.
Okay.
Yeah, I love the food, man. I love the music. You know, the women, they're probably not my favorite women, but you know, I've had really good experiences with Mexican women in Mexico and in California. So, you know, I got to give some love to Mexico as well, man. So I'll say that's my top 5 today. You ask me 2 days from now, it'd be a different top 5. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And now you got all types of content. You know, this is kind of like where you are in Africa. What's up with Angola, man? You know, did you?
Oh yeah, Angola, man. That is a hidden gem, man. That is not for everybody. I really enjoyed Angola, man. I got to get back out there. That is one of those that, you know, for me at least, I can't just do it once. Angola surprised me, and at first I wasn't even going to go to Angola. I had a homie, and he had just been in Angola, and he was telling me, I was in Mozambique at the time, and he was telling me, he was like, dude, you need to also go to Angola too. And I was like, they both speak Portuguese. They're both African countries. Like, how different are they going to be? Like, I've seen one. Do I need to see both? And he's like, yeah, you need to see Angola. I like Angola better. And so I said, all right, I'll go. You know, it's a direct flight or whatever. So I pulled up to Angola, and I thought it was going to be like Mozambique. It's completely different, man. The energy is completely different. They both speak Portuguese. So if you lived in Brazil, you know, you kicked it in Brazil or whatever, you got some basics down, you'd be all right. You'll be able to understand people. And it's very, how do I put it? The beach culture in Angola is unlike almost anywhere I had seen before. Like now I was just in Cape Verde, but like when I went to Angola, I hadn't been to Cape Verde yet. So I had been to like Kenya's beaches. I've been to the beaches in like Madagascar. I've been to the beaches in Tanzania. I've been to the beaches in a bunch of East African countries. I've been to the beaches in South Africa, and none of them to me really had that Latin American flavor. You know, it's still like a little bit, I don't know, it's like an African version. It just didn't feel to me like the energy you feel like in Rio or somewhere like that in Latin America. But I got to Angola in Luanda, and I was just like, yo, this is for real. I was like, yo, I feel like I'm in Brazil or something like that. Like it was really cool, man.
Really?
The women,
Okay.
what was that?
I said, oh, really? You feel like Angola was like Brazil a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, the women were very receptive. You know, it's just good vibes out there. I seen a lot of, you know, like the natural Afro hair texture there. The weather to me was great. The prices were pretty good. Everyone was telling me that like Angola is super duper expensive, and it was. But like in the last year, they had like something with their economy is like really bad right now. So it's actually a perfect timing for me to go there, you know. And yeah, it was everything, man. It really made my trip. So I was like, I got to double back. I want to go back to Angola.
I gotta go back. This Cambodia?
Yeah.
That's Angola right there?
Yeah, man. Yeah. And wait till you see the beaches. The beaches are crazy. Yeah, I went
now,
like
is this like the typical look of Angolian women, or is it that's kind of like a little bit of a minority there? Because when I think about the Black African.
These two girls right here.
Yeah.
These two? Oh no, these girls are from these are Ethiopian girls. These are Ethiopian.
Okay, I was about to say.
Yeah. Nah. Ethiopia is cool too. Ethiopia is probably one of my top 5 as well. You know, it's a little conservative where I think a lot of brothers would be frustrated in Ethiopia, but I feel like if you have time to invest, Ethiopia is another like sleeper that I really enjoy. But like one of my videos that I think right now has the highest views is one I did on the beach in Angola. And this one is at like 115K or something right now. And Angolan people showed me so much love. I had a lot of them in the comment section. And just when I was on the ground there, I filmed video talking with locals and stuff. Angola is just really warm, really Latin vibes. If you're used to like, you know, Afro Latinas or whatever, Angola has a similar feel to it in my experience.
Oh, nice. I had no idea, man. Like I said, that's just one of them countries that you never really hear about like that.
Yeah, I like to go to those like ones no one goes to. Like I went to Burundi, which nobody goes to. I went to Madagascar. I went to Mauritius. I went to like everywhere that no one's going to. I'd be like, yeah, I gotta pull up, man. I gotta see what's good over there.
Okay, and you went to what other one? Kenya as well, man. I hear a lot of guys going about Kenya and everything. What's the real on Kenya, bro? Because we don't know. The thing about Kenya is you hear a lot of good things about Kenya, but you just don't really see like a lot of people vlogging in Kenya like that. It's always going to be like a podcast or you know.
Yeah, I feel you, man. I feel you. So Kenya is cool. Like Kenya was, I think, my second or third African country. The first time I went was in 2018. You can see the video on my channel. I did a comparison of Kenya versus Uganda, and that was five or 6 years ago, right? And then I did a new one of like, what are they like in 2024, Kenya versus Uganda? And, you know, if you want to get the updated and see how they've changed, because I talk about the changes that I noticed over time, I would say Kenya is very well-rounded. You know, now, like I said, I've been to 20 African countries. So I know how special Kenya is because I can see where other places don't have the things that Kenya offers. Kenya is, you got your beach city. If you want to go to Mombasa, you could bring a chick from Nairobi. You can hit up like castles. You can hit up, you know, so many different things. You want that warm weather. Then you have Nairobi, which is just like a very international city for Africa. So you have not only Kenyans there, man, you've got Rwandans, you've got Ugandans, you've got Tanzanians, you've got girls from all over Africa. You can find them in Kenya, which I think really makes it special versus some other African countries. It's very modernized. It's stable. That being said, if you need things to look just like America, then go to South Africa. South Africa is a little bit ahead of Kenya when it comes to like the roads and some of the infrastructure, but I would rank it like this. South Africa is going to be like damn near America when it comes to like quality of life and stuff like that, but just way cheaper at a discount. You know what I'm saying? If you want to live like Atlanta, but live it at like 1/4 of the cost, South Africa. Like you could blink in a mall in South Africa or on a street and you wouldn't know you weren't in the States.
Mm-hmm.
Nairobi's not like that. Nairobi is advanced for Africa, but you will know you're in Africa. And that's good and bad, you know, because there's people who they're like, man, F the States. I don't want to see anything that reminds me of the States. I don't want no, you know, anything where the girls, they know the attitudes of the States, where they follow American trends. There's dudes like that. And I respect that position. And then on the other side, you got dudes who are like, nah, I need some familiarity. I'm used to having Uber Eats. I'm used to XYZ. I want to be able to get some KFC. Well, you can get KFC anywhere in Africa for the most part. But you know what I'm trying to say. I want to get Burger King. I want to get McDonald's. Like you can get McDonald's in South Africa. You can't get that in Kenya. There's no McDonald's. Not that I eat McDonald's. Hell no. But I'm just using that as an example of like how Americanized it is. So to me, those are the top two. If you've never been to Africa, I would say start with South Africa, then Nairobi. But maybe you, like I said, if you're trying to get further away from the States, then go straight to Nairobi. If either one of those don't apply to you, then maybe you want to like to go, I don't know, somewhere more niche. Like it depends. Maybe you want to go to Ghana. Depends what you're, you know, what you're going for. You feel me? But yeah, Kenya is popular, but with a lot of dudes for a good reason. Like they're not just, you know, selling the dream. Kenya is going to fit what most brothers are looking for when they come to the continent and are not as experienced. Because to go to places like Rwanda, I feel like you need more experience to really get the juice out of that fruit. And the same thing with like some of the more exotic places that I go to, they're not for beginners. I think if a brother has never been to Africa and they just pull up straight to Angola and they've never like really kicked it in Brazil, so they have a Portuguese level, I don't think they're going to have the same experience that I did. You understand? So I would tell those guys first go to Kenya, then go to South Africa, then graduate to some of these other places. You know, if you go straight off rip, your experience is going to be completely different, you know, for good or bad.
Okay, that's a good point. Now you mentioned South Africa, man. I want to pull this up real quick. So South Africa actually had about 4 of the most dangerous cities in the world on the list of 2024. Did you feel safe when you was out there?
I think I've been to almost all of these cities, man.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to, I'll go down the list of the ones I've been to. I've been to Pretoria. I did a video on Pretoria. I've been to Durban. I did a video on Durban. I went to Joburg, did a video on that. I've been to Rio. I've been to Salvador. I've been to Recife. I've been to Rosario in Argentina. Mm-hmm. I've been to, obviously, Baltimore. I got family in Baltimore. I've been to Guayaquil. I've been to, you know, Cape Town, Detroit, Tijuana. I've never been to Albuquerque. So I've been to almost every city on this list. As far as dangerous, I didn't have any incidents in any of these cities, man. The city, out of all the countries that I've been to, man, I can tell you, I've only been like had anything stolen from me in very few places. Like in Bogota, I was pickpocketed. They didn't pull any weapons out. They just, you know, it happens, right? They just took my phone. And where else? In Bogota and in Ethiopia, in Addis Ababa, somebody pickpocketed me. But that's it, man. I've never had anybody lay a hand on me in any of these countries. You know, no weapons pulled out on me or anything like that. I think something can happen to you in a place that's not on this list. And then something can happen to you on a place in this list. You know what I'm saying? It just really comes down to what you're doing, how you're moving. It's so many different factors. But if you want to go to any of these cities, go to them. I think you would be okay as long as you go with the right mentality. You know, you're not getting drunk. You're not, you know, using drugs during the daytime or, you know, out at certain areas you're not supposed to be in. Yeah, what's your take?
You know, I look at it kind of like usually we're going to be in these tourist areas. For the most part, they're going to be safe, you know, outside of maybe Medellin where they don't really protect the tourists like that. But for the most part, like I see Rio de Janeiro is like number 7, and I didn't have any real issues besides them trying to pickpocket me.
Yep. Yeah, I mean that can happen anywhere though. Yeah, right. Pickpockets are everywhere.
But yeah, I really wanted to get your take on, like, you know, you see 3 cities in South Africa that's top 3, top 5. So
yeah.
is it
Hey,
really that dangerous? You feel like, or was it just
that's one of those things. So
because I heard they got like heavy gun crimes in South Africa too.
so I will say, okay, so where's the American city? The highest American city is which one? Is Memphis?
Yeah,
Memphis is at number 11, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll put it to you like this. Would you be like not scared, but would you feel unsafe in Memphis?
I've been to Memphis. I didn't really. Well, I was actually in the hood in Memphis.
Exactly.
You know. See, the difference is
Exactly.
though. The difference
Yeah,
is,
I
Jay,
know the
it's like,
language barrier and stuff. I know the
but
language
not
barrier
even
and stuff,
that though.
but
It's just that we kind of know how to move within these. Like we
exactly.
know where we at. Okay, we see.
True,
Okay,
true.
crackhead
I
right
feel
there, hood
I feel
right
like
there. It's
I
like,
feel like
boom,
if
we
you're
already
the
know where
kind
we
of
at.
dude who can move in Memphis
Mhm.
or like what other cities on Baltimore. If you're a grimy dude, I don't want to say everybody's grimy from Baltimore, but if you do from Baltimore and you used to being in the hoods in Baltimore and you go to a hood in Pretoria, well, I mean, why would you even go to the hood in Pretoria? But I'm saying if you just pull up in the regular part of Pretoria, right? Because I didn't go to the hood. I'm not a hood tourist. That's not my thing. I don't get kicks off of that, right? So I was in Pretoria. I was in the normal areas of Pretoria. I was in downtown. You know what I'm saying? You can see me. I'm walking downtown with a camera in broad daylight. You know what I'm saying? I'm all over the city. You know what I'm saying? They have a train that connects Joburg and Pretoria. They're very close. I think it's like 40 minutes in a car, I think. And in the train, it's like maybe 25 or 30. So I took the train from Joburg to Pretoria and I left the station and I'm walking around filming, you know. So if anybody's going to get robbed, you would think it would be the dude who's clearly a tourist because ain't no local just going to be filming. And I'm not talking about I'm filming with like a GoPro. I'm filming with my whole fucking cell phone. You know what I'm saying? So people see that I'm filming and that I'm foreign and nobody tried me. You know what I'm saying? I didn't get looked at crazy. Now, of course, if I was going to the hood and I didn't have anybody watching my back, then yeah, it's going to be an issue. But Pretoria has some gorgeous women, man. Let me say that for the record. Pretoria has some gorgeous women, and I've seen them all over the world. Like Pretoria,
Picked you
bro.
up right here. So
Yeah,
let's
Pretoria
just walk
got it.
around Pretoria. You kind of like in the hood. Look at the hood a little bit, brother.
Yes, the downtown. I mean, it's a little, rough around the edges in certain areas in Pretoria. But nah, I never had any. Yeah, that's the train. Yeah, you can see me. I'm taking the train down to Pretoria. But no, I didn't feel like it was any more dangerous than really anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like in general, yeah, I try to, keep an eye out, especially if I'm on the streets and I'm filming because, that's just more attention on you. But I didn't feel anything different there than any of the other places when I'm filming it. Now
Okay.
I will say this about Johannesburg. Everybody and their mama warned me about the downtown in Johannesburg. I did not film the downtown there like I did in Pretoria. But it's funny because they have Pretoria higher on this list for danger, and nobody really warned me about Pretoria. Maybe they thought I wasn't going to go to Pretoria. I don't know. But everybody and their mama said, look, when you go to downtown Joburg, like, be very, very careful. But I didn't have any issues. I did go downtown. I went to, I didn't film though. I filmed, there's a district. I'm trying to think of the name of the district. But they have a district which is like kind of, what's the word? Like gentrified in the downtown of Johannesburg. And over there, they have some restaurants. They have some like, you'll see a couple of tourists, I think, during the day. And there is like one of the safer areas. But in general, they say, it's not safe whatsoever in downtown Joburg. And I say, yeah, there are like some crackhead looking areas in downtown Joburg that I would not mess with. But if you're a tourist, you're not going there for that. Like you're going to be in somewhere like Sandton, somewhere like Rosebank, near the malls, near the clubs. You feel me? So if you want to go to Joburg, I say go. You're not going to have a bad experience. The odds are that you will not have a bad experience. You can get robbed anywhere. So.
Okay, and you say that South Africa is a good starting point for most American travelers for the most part.
Yeah, for Africa. If you've never been to Africa before and you want to go to a Black African country, I would say if you want to be around more Black people, Joburg. To me, I break down South Africa like this. Like the three biggest cities are Joburg, Cape Town, and Durban. So for me, Durban is kind of like Fort Lauderdale, like a Tallahassee type of a feel. Joburg is more like Atlanta, DC type of a feel. And then Cape Town is like San Francisco. You know what I'm saying? Where it's Yeah, it's blended. It's a lot more white people there versus Joburg. Joburg feels like a real black city. You know, if you one of those like real pro-black dudes, you're not trying to be around, you know, those other folks, then Joburg would be the one for you. But really, you should hit them all if you have time, because the flights are really cheap. I think you can get a flight for like $40 from one city to the next in Joburg, in South Africa, which is really nice. Unlike the States, you know, we don't really have such cheap flights like low cost. I mean, you do have Spirit or whatever, but as far as like flying from city to city in South Africa, for me, it was really cheap. They were efficient. They were on time. There was no jankiness, no canceled flights or anything like that. So yeah, if you go, it would be a crime to just see one city. You got to kind of see at least 2 or 3.
Okay. And like I said, in your travels, man, I love your channel because you kind of show the good and the bad. What's some of the bad incidents that you kind of experienced while you overseas, and what country was you in?
Okay. So I had an incident. Which one should I start with? I mean, so I move around a lot. I'll be in, you know, different Airbnbs and stuff. And I'm sure you probably experienced that as well. Like in different countries, they have different cultural standards and a different way that they run businesses or whatever. So things that are acceptable in certain parts of Africa would not fly in, let's say, Europe or in the States or whatever. Like, I've been in certain apartments where, for example, I'll have roaches, like, and this would be a nice apartment. Like I'm talking about, there'll be like 50 reviews on Airbnb. So you're like, man, it's going to be smooth sailing. I got nothing to worry about. And you'll show up and there'll be roaches, and you'll tell them like, look, you know, I'm paying, and it's not a cheap place either. You know, like I'm paying a good amount of money. Like, look, y'all got to do something about this. And they're kind of looking at you like, well, we'll get around to it. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of an attitude. And you're just like, what? Like, I'm the customer. Like, what? You should be bending over backwards to like fix this for me. You know what I'm saying? So I don't report, and, you know, that kind of a thing. So I had little incidents like that have happened. I was actually in Ethiopia. I had some really bad experiences with the Airbnb in Ethiopia. Now, I love Ethiopia as a country. I think most Ethiopian people are warm and welcoming to Black Americans, but you get some of them who they simply don't like us. You know, I think it's all foreigners. I don't think it's just Black Americans. You could be from Canada or wherever else. But yeah, I've had some real shady situations where like the dudes would lie and say that I like broke some stuff in the apartment. And I'm like, how, Sway? Like, how did that happen? Like, show me the receipts. And I have to go back and forth with the platform over it, like really stuff like that. Like, I feel like almost every time I went, I had problems with accommodations there. Now, the hotels have been legit. The hotels that I went to, you know, everything was above board. But especially in the capital, when it comes to Airbnbs, man, be very, very careful. I would keep my guard up, because a lot of them, it's just really bad run. I think that's kind of an opportunity where if some Black Americans would go there and, you know, they rented out a couple, you know, different spots in the main parts of the city, man, you can make a killing, because the quality, the competition is just not there in my experience.
You know, it's funny, man, because I've definitely had a few incidents in Airbnb. I was in Cartagena one time, and I sat down in a chair, and the chair broke. Now, I'm not like no big overweight dude, nothing like that.
Yeah.
The chair broke. And I told the Airbnb host, I said, hey, man, I sit down on your chair. It broke. And they was like, well, why did it break? Was you partying? Did you throw it? I'm just like, no, I actually sat down in it. And they tried to charge me like $200 for this chair.
Right? Wow. Yeah, shady.
Yeah, and my girl was like, hell no, we're not paying that. And I'm just like, yo. So I think they end up disputing it. It was like $40-$50. But I'm like, yo, it's a chair. People sit in a chair. Obviously, somebody had broke it and didn't report it. They kind of just set me up for the next, for the next person. So you just try to charge the person either before me, or try to figure out exactly where the chair broke and somebody try to fix it. But it's little things like that it can be a little bit of an annoyance. But I've been pretty lucky in my travels, knock on wood, to not really have any real issues for the most part.
Yeah, I had some real issues, man, where like a lot of times the dude, you know, he'll be in another country. Like in my experience with the Ethiopian Airbnbs, when they be trash, they don't even be in the country. So I'm going through like third parties, and, you know, the language barrier is messed up too. So it's been a nightmare, man. That was like, that was the worst experience by far that I've had. And it wasn't just one time, it was continual. So I think it's a structural thing going on there. And in Bulgaria, I told you that's one of the countries that I really didn't like. I had an issue there too, where the dude tried to say I broke his ironing board, which how do you break an ironing board? Like, did I sit on it? Like, it wasn't even broken. He was capping, and he wanted like $80. And I'm like, where do you get an ironing board? Not the iron, the board. He wanted $80 for the freaking ironing board. And I'm like, come on, man. Like, Airbnb has got to see that this is just this dude is just lying to get some extra money or whatever. And you know, thank God they didn't believe what he was talking about. But yeah, you do have to be aware of that in these developing countries, because you know the professionalism, the standards, is not always there. And like you said about sitting on a chair and then it breaks. Like, I had a situation. This was in Nairobi, where this dude was cool about the whole situation, but I had walked into the Airbnb. I wasn't even in the place 5 minutes. I sat on the chair. The whole chair collapsed, just like you said. The whole thing collapsed. But not only did it collapse, right? It was on a balcony, and the back of the chair was metal, and it smashed the glass plate. So I'm sitting backwards, and I got glass like behind me. I could have went through the freaking sliding door. That's how crazy the situation was. I'm like, somebody set this up like this. This is just, you know, it's too perfect how it happened. But at the end of the day, he wasn't crazy. He wasn't trying to. Well, I don't even know what he was doing behind the scenes, but I didn't have to pay nothing because I had receipts. I took pictures of everything. So I would say to guys, when you're traveling in these developed countries, take pictures of everything. Anything that's expensive, anything you think that they might, if there's a 1% chance that they could say that you broke some shit, plan that they're going to say that. So just have the receipt. So in case they do try to say, oh, he left and this was broken or this or that, you say, no, no, no. When I walked in, you know, make sure you do a full review and just, you know, film everything with your camera. And that way you could say, look, this was already like that. This couch already had that stain. This was already torn, etc. Because you would be surprised. People will smile. They'll send you polite messages, very friendly, very professional. Then when it's time to check out, it could be a whole different beast. So that's kind of the dark side that, you know, I haven't really talked. I've left some of that drama off the channel. But yeah, that stuff does happen behind the scenes. A lot of stuff I haven't been putting out so much. It's not that it's like I'm hiding it. It's just kind of annoyances kind of things. You know, if I go to a country and I don't like the country, I'm going to tell you. Don't think I'm holding back on that. I'm just holding back on some of the things like, you know, in Africa, many times I've had like planes delayed. Like they say it's going to come at 1 o'clock. Then it ends up coming at like 10 p.m. And then it like destroyed my connection and those kind of issues. I don't really put those out that much. But yeah, it is a different pace to things and a different flow. But all that being said, you know, I would never change my African travels. Like, I love traveling in Africa. And the rewards are really great too. So, you know, no risk, no reward. You know, sometimes when you're the pioneer, like me, the first person to go to a place, it might suck. Maybe that's why no one goes there. And you're not going to find that out till you go there and you got your feet on the ground. But, you know, I'm blessed that I'm in a position where if I go somewhere and I take an L and it's not what I thought it was, hey, I just charge it to the game. And where's the next flight? I'm on to the next place. You feel me? So I don't let it, you know, make me angry or anything like that. I just keep it moving.
That's a good point, man. That's a real good point. And guys, we got 135 people in the room. Guys, do me a favor and make sure you hit that like button. I got my man JayFocused here. He puts out a good amount of content on the app as well, guys. He's on the app. That's how I kind of find out about Jay and just kind of saw your moves, man. So I definitely appreciate you putting that content on the app because most guys in the private Facebook group they're not really traveling, or they traveling to 1 or 2 locations for a weekend or 2 and going right back home. So on the app, we got actual guys that are traveling the world like yourself.
Yes, absolutely, man. And it's good to have that, you know, that network, that you know, that area where we can really be free, uncensored or whatever, because, you know, YouTube and all these other platforms, they'll take you down sometimes without warning. And you're like, what did I do, man? Like, you know, certain videos get flagged out of nowhere. And we have to realize that we don't control these platforms. But this is unique in that you created a platform where we are able to really be ourselves and not have to worry about that kind of stuff. So, you know, shout out to you for that.
Yeah, man, most definitely. So guys, let's get into the mix now. Let's get into the mix. We got a few people in the room. Your dating experiences, man. You know, brothers want to hear about the dating experiences.
Oh yeah, for sure,
Overseas
man.
and everything. Have you gotten any type of relationships, red or so, or you just kind of moving and shaking? And if so, like what countries do you have, I say, an easier time getting the type of beautiful women that you want, the beautiful foreign that you want?
Okay.
I
I would say so. I don't know if you guys know. A lot of people probably new to the channel. I spent the last 14 months straight in Africa. I did not go to take a stop in Europe for coffee. I didn't have no connections outside of the continent. Everything was on the continent. I was 10 toes down on the continent from what time last year? From June 2023 until basically September 2024. I was breathing, sleeping Africa, nothing but Africa. So that's what's freshest in my mind right now is my African experiences. So as far as the continent goes, man, Kenya definitely shows a brother a lot of love. That's not hype. Kenya showed a brother a lot of love. Rwanda as well. Rwanda showed a brother a lot of love. Uganda, come on, man. Ugandan women are, they're very, they check a lot of the boxes for the guys who are saying that, I'm tired of, these boss babes or whatever, I want a submissive woman. Most women in Uganda are going to be very traditional. They're so sweet. They're so caring. They speak English. It's really hard to go wrong with Uganda as well, especially if you're looking for like a long-term situation. The cost of living there is reasonable as well. Yeah, there's a lot of good things to be said about Uganda. If you like African women, of course. Where else? Angola, showed a brother a lot of love. Like I was surprised the reception that I got there. I am able to speak some Portuguese, so that makes things easier because the level of English is not what it is in some other places. It's nowhere near what it is in Kenya, for example. But I was able to communicate with people and really like immerse myself into things there. And like I said, the love that they showed me makes me want to go back. I don't even have to think twice about that one. Where else? I mean, you got gorgeous women in Cape Verde. You got gorgeous women in South Africa. South Africa has some of the best natural bodies on earth. You could quote me on that, man. I've been to, like I said, 82 countries. I've seen every kind of body type you could think of. And South Africa, if you don't put South African bodies in your top 3, you're crazy. You've never been there. That's the only way you could not put them in your top 3 is if you've never been to South Africa. If they're not number 1, they're in the top 3. That's not even a conversation. I would say Dominicans, South Africans have to be in the top 3. When it comes to natural. Now, if we talking about implants and stuff, then that's a lot of different places. But yeah, naturals, I got to give it to my Dominicans and my South Africans when it comes to the body types. Where else? Where else haven't I said? I think. Yeah, just in general, man, it's really hard to go bad in Africa. Oh, Namibia. I didn't mention Namibia. Namibian women too. They're very similar to South Africa when it comes to body types. It's a very small country though, so a lot of guys aren't really going to be attracted to that. South Africa has a lot more going on, a lot more lively or whatever. But yeah, man, it's just been a good ride in Africa overall. I mean, I can't think of a place I didn't really get love in like that. I'd say maybe Mozambique a little bit, but I wasn't there very long. So yeah, in Africa, you really can't do bad. I told you I lived in Europe before, so I've been pretty much everywhere that you want to go to in Europe. I would say Italian women, they're definitely checking for us. Spanish women, it's kind of hit or miss. You need to really be on the ground with Spanish women, where with like Italian women, they would just be, yeah, like, let's go, man. They were not playing games in my experience. Surprisingly, where else? Well, I mean, Swedish, if you like the Northern European women, they down for us. I'm trying to think where else. You were just asking me what my experiences have been, the best ones as far as women.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, DR. It's been many years since I've been there, but when I was there, yeah, I was getting a lot of love in DR. Argentina too, but they're weird. So I did some videos on my channel. I used to live in Argentina, so I kind of broke it down in a way like how they are. Like you can get them, but they operate in a different way from most Latinas. And I know most dudes like, I ain't got time for that. Hey, I ain't mad at you, but I was living here, so I did have time for that. You know what I'm saying? Once you kind of figure out the flow, then the floodgates kind of open there. You know what I'm saying? But it's not like really a place where you just fly in and like you just got them lining up when you land or something like that. It's a little bit different there. Oh, Poland too, man. Poland is one of my favorite countries in Europe.
Okay.
Like, if you like Europe, Ukraine used to be one of my favorites. Before the war popped off, I got videos on my channel on Ukraine, and Ukraine is bananas. It was before, you know, everything happened. Like, and I'm not talking about you know, sugar babying or anything. I'm talking about straight up normal chicks, you know, was definitely choosing when I was in Ukraine. And we're humble too, and the prices were good. I really enjoyed Ukraine, man. Kiev especially. Like the rest of the country, they could kind of keep that, but Kiev was really good to me. I went there twice.
Okay, now I recognize you didn't mention Brazil. You're not a big fan of Brazil?
Brazil, that's complicated, man. So I haven't been in Brazil in a long. Sorry, what'd you say?
I said it really is. I lived in Brazil for
Yeah,
like 9
yeah.
months.
Okay, yeah. So you know better than me, man, because I was only in Brazil as a tourist. I never really put in the work in Brazil. I've met Brazilians all over the world. I used to live in Las Vegas, and I sometimes joke that I got more play from Brazilian women in Las Vegas than I got from Brazilian women in Brazil. You know, when I was there, you know, on vacation or whatever. But Brazil is different. Brazil is different. There's a lot of colorism in Brazil that people don't talk about very much. It kind of depends, man. If you're doing more of a transactional thing, which I'm not mad at guys for doing a transactional thing, man. You know, more power to you. But if you're doing a transactional thing, then yeah, Brazil is one of the best places in the world. But I think if you just pulling up to Brazil and you're a brother, you don't speak any Portuguese, you don't have contacts on the ground, like you don't got, oh, these the homies, they know people, they're gonna show me around, whatever. I don't really think most brothers are gonna pull up to Brazil and win just off the strength of I'm an American, I'm here to have fun. I don't think most brothers. Now some will, but I don't think the majority will. Like I said, unless you're doing a transactional kind of thing, y'all follow me. And like I said, nothing wrong with doing that. But I feel like the genuine like desire and love for, you know, brothers or people with my phenotype, I got way more in DR than I got in Brazil. And I speak Portuguese, so I don't think it's a language thing. I think it's just more of it's a culture thing. It's a cultural difference or whatever. But that being said, I'm willing to give Brazil another try. It's been many years since I've been. I'm going to go again. And maybe I'll have a different impression this time. But from the last 2 times when I went, it wasn't what they marketed to you as, at least for me. How about you?
Now you make a good point. I was in Brazil right around, I think I hit my stride right around month number 7 or 8 when I started hanging with my guy Hobson, you know, showing me around. I'm in the favela. That's when I kind of really got the true Brazilian experience, because when you in these little ritzy ass spots with these whiter so-called Brazilians, it's like, oh, it's just an American type joint. You know, like they're not trying to get to know you. It's like a high-buy situation.
Exactly.
For women, it's kind of like you say, if they're not a pro, they'll turn into one just because you're American, right?
Yeah.
So when I start like mixing in like with Hobson and his people in the favela, everything changed for me. And I did not want to leave, but I had already booked my ticket to Thailand. So you're absolutely right. It really is in concerns of meeting with the local people, getting cool with them, and going to their beach, not like the Copacabana beach where it's all touristy and all the other stuff going on. It's like going to the favela beach, basically. Stan Cajado. And you know, you down there, you in Baja da Juca, like you just moving.
Yeah, I know Baja. Yep.
Yeah, you just moving differently, man. That's when you get the, you know, you go into the malls, you meet women that speak a little broken English, and you start going out with them. So yeah, you just got to be there a while. You definitely got to learn some Portuguese, but
yeah, it's a learning curve. That's the way I look at it. One
of the places that you really got to be cool with, like the local, like the people, like you got to, because they'll put you on.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, like I didn't even want to leave Brazil once I started hanging out in the favela. You know, that's when I didn't even want to leave Brazil like that. But I got a question for you, man. This is actually
Yeah.
an
Go for
interesting
it.
question here. You know, I don't think it's too offensive. It's asked, what's the situation with the body odor over there?
Okay.
I know all African women don't stink per se, but some of them are hella rank here. Is the hygiene important in general in the places you've been? That's actually a pretty good question.
Okay. That's a fair question, I think. I mean, the way he worded it was a little bit, kind of disrespectful, but it is what it is. I'm not offended. So I will say that in some African countries, the deodorant usage is not what it is in the States or in most countries. That's just a fact. Not in all of them. I said in certain ones. It's not universal. That being said, the women that I deal with, 99% smell no different than they do in the States. 99%. You might have one, like I said, if you're dealing with 100 women, you might have one of the type that I deal with who might actually like, okay, hey, baby girl, you might need to, throw that stick on. Like I said, 1% or something like that. But if you're dealing with a middle-class girl, I think in any country, they're going to smell fine. Now, if you are taking public transportation, I was trying to think of a stereotypical name or something, Mutembe or whatever. Yeah, he might put his arm up and you might smell death. Like that's possible. But you're not sleeping with Mutembe, so who cares? I mean, it's nasty. You don't want to be around it. But no, the females that I've dealt with, no, I've never had a situation where, it was just nasty. No, it's not typical, especially from a female. No. But like I said, that being said, deodorant use is not universal. Like in the States, everybody uses deodorant, even unless you're homeless, you're going to use deodorant. Where I think in East Africa, some of the working class guys, the guys who work all day, maybe they're working in gardening or that type of thing, they're working outdoors. Those type of dudes, they might have, I don't know, $10 to their name. Those dudes may not wear deodorant. And if you're riding a public bus, a mutatu, whatever, yeah, you might have to smell that. And I've been to certain gyms where you might have two dudes in there who are funky. It is what it is, but I don't mess with dudes. You feel me? Like I've never been in a gym where the female stank. This has just never happened. No.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about Cape Verde, man. Like,
okay, so some of the latest content I put out on the channel is from Cape Verde. I'm dropping another one, which today's Wednesday, right? So yeah, today's Tuesday or Wednesday? Today's Tuesday. So on Thursday, I'm going to be dropping the next video from Cape Verde. I think that'll be the last one. And then I'm going to show you guys another country. I got different videos that I'm going to put out next. It just kind of depends. But Cape Verde is a very niche place. And I'll tell you why. Like when I was first doing research on Cape Verde, I was like, why is this place like kind of slept on? Why don't more people know about it? Then I did a little bit more research and I was like, well, number one, most of the flights that go there go from Europe. So it's a major place for like Europeans to vacation in, but they don't have like direct flights from Miami or they don't have direct flights from Atlanta like that. Like I think they have flights from Boston, but that's pretty much it because there's a lot of Cape Verdeans who live in the Boston area and maybe New York.
I just saw that. Hold on, I got to rewind that one.
I made it do the spin.
Yeah.
You tell me, okay. Yeah, you want the instant replay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and Cape Verde, that's on the west side of Africa?
Yeah, it's on the west side of Africa, actually. Yeah, it's in the Atlantic. So you got Senegal on West Africa, and then it's just a little bit further west. So the best way to go to get there, if you're already in Africa, like let's say you're in Nairobi, like I was, you can fly from Nairobi to Senegal to Dakar, and then from Dakar, it's like a 45-minute flight or something, maybe an hour, but no more than an hour flight. It's super close to Senegal, but the people look completely different because they have a different history. So Cape Verde was colonized by the Portuguese, just like Brazil, just like Angola, just like Mozambique, right? So they speak Portuguese but to complicate it, they speak a Creole. So it's just like Jamaica was colonized by the British, but they don't speak pure, British English. They speak, hey man, wagwan, they talk like that. They have their own version of English. They put their own African twist to it, right? They did the same thing in Cape Verde, where they don't just speak to the bang like in Brazil. Yeah, I mean they understand it, but they have their own like little flavor they throw on it or whatever. So you're not gonna know their style right away. You feel me? Whereas in Angola, they just speak straight up Portuguese. So if you know the Brazilian stuff and you go there, you're good to go. You'll understand everybody. Where in Cape Verde, it's more challenging. You feel me? But I'll say this: if you do know some Brazilian type Portuguese, they will love you because they think that accent is real sexy. They watch, like the TV series and stuff from Brazil, and they listen to Brazilian music. So when they hear it, they'll think you're Brazilian. They're like, "Oh, I love how you say that," or whatever. I had several girls say that to me. They're like, "You're not Brazilian." First thing when they saw me, they would think I was from there. They would think I was Cape Verdean. And then when they heard me speak a little Portuguese, they'd be like, "Oh, you're Brazilian," or whatever. And they like, their eyes would get big or whatever. And then I would tell them I'm American, and that would surprise them too. So yeah, Cape Verde is interesting because it's a whole bunch of little islands. It's not like one big island, like DR is one big island or Cuba is one big island. It's a bunch of little ones. And so because of that, when someone says, I went to Cape Verde, you got to be like, where did you go? Because every island is like kind of a different experience in some ways. So when I went to the two biggest islands. So the biggest island is called Santiago, and the capital is called Praia, like the beach in Portuguese, Praia. And then you have the other island is called São Vicente, like St. Vincent. And then the capital is called Mindelo. And so that is the Carnival Island. That's where they do the Carnival, all the celebrations and stuff like that. And they're more light skinned, they're more mixed race. So if you go to St. Vincent, São Vicente, the island, this video here, I filmed this one in São Vicente. I would say everyone to me looks Dominican on this island for the most part. They look Dominican or they look like Cariocas, people from Rio de Janeiro. The average skin tone is like probably lighter than mine. I'm probably on a little bit on the darker side on that island. But the other island, which is Santiago, which has the biggest city, that island, most people are like my color. You know what I'm saying? So a little bit darker, just a little bit. And there's more people like immigrants and stuff on that island, whereas the other one where they're a little bit lighter, they don't really have so much immigrants and stuff, and they have much less tourism, I would say. I spent most of my time in that island in St. Vincent, but you have videos from both islands on the channel, and there's other islands too, but they're really small. So I think in total, Cape Verde is like 7 different islands, but the population is only in like 3 islands.
Okay. It's interesting, man, because, we never see like true history or documentaries. I mean, there's some documentaries out there, but it's like when those guys left Europe or that colonization phase, they just kind of went everywhere and kind of just did whatever they wanted to the people. Let's just put it that way. And it caused all these mixed races all around the world, and depending on how they decide to educate those mixed races of people, some people embrace their African side and some people don't. But I was telling somebody about earlier about how Dominicans feel. I said, man, it's complicated in South America because it's like they did a lot of inclusion, whereas in America they drew a hard line. Like they didn't care if we was mixed. They was either going to put us out there on the plantation or not. So it didn't matter. Like they drew a hard line, whereas the Spanish,
one drop rule.
Yeah, the one drop rule. Whereas the Spanish was just like, yo, that's my family, that's my son, that's my daughter. They did it a little differently, which was the best way to do it because now generations later, they're extremely confused to a certain degree because are they the conqueror or the conquered?
Yeah, right. Like, right. Yeah. I feel you. Yeah, to me,
they grandma black, their granddad looks white, mestizo. Their brother look like. If you look at that particular Dominican family, it looks like the prototypical Black American family, where we got the darkest of the dark to the lightest of the light. But if you go to ancestry.com, you will see about 30 white people that's related to you. They don't even deal with their black side of the family.
Wow.
they know about us at all. Like you just go to I don't know if you did the ancestry.com, but just go to ancestry.com and you'll see the amount of white people in your family. And you
Yeah.
like,
Okay.
we don't even know who those people are. Because in America, it was that hard line that was drawn.
Separation.
It was separation.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's where the kind of confusion comes in, and people be hard on Dominicans or other mixed people because they don't want to embrace it. But I'm like, well, look what they went through.
Yeah,
it was a different form.
Yeah, it's complicated, man. It really is. I think what you said was really interesting about, are they the conquered or are they the conqueror? And most people, they want to identify with the conqueror, right? And just to move it a little away from Afro Latinos, like when you look at most, let's say, Latinos in general, like people with a Mexican look or with a Ecuadorian look or something, you can tell you look like the people who were here before the colonizer. Most of them, they look way more closer to the people who were here. They don't look like, I lived in Spain. They don't look like Spanish people. I know what a Spanish person looks like. They don't look nothing like they from Madrid, right? But they be swearing that, their lineage is from there. And I'm like, so you might be 30% Spanish, but you're going to ignore the 70% that was already here. I mean, it's not my fight. You know what I'm saying? They're not my people, but I'm just like, most people want to identify with who won, right? And so it's no different with, I think, a lot of the Latin Americans who are of Black descent, because they were allowed to believe the lie. And, they kind of ran with it versus being like, hey, we should have more. And we not only are we being done dirty in the past, we're still being done dirty. And I feel like if you don't acknowledge that you were on the defeated side in the past, you're not going to be angry now and press for change in the present. You're just going to accept the lie that it's colorblind, which is, obviously false. If you look at the outcomes and you look at where the people who look like Telemundo live and where the people who look like you live, like you guys are on different planets, but you guys watch the same football team, so y'all are the same. Like, what? Make that make sense.
You're absolutely right. Like I said before, Black Americans are probably the most. We're in a very particular situation because in a lot of cases, because of the hard lines, it's like we kind of know where we stand, which empowers us a whole lot more, because we the ones that kicked off the civil rights and all that. Not to say that we're so much different than other, Black people around the world, but in essence that we kind of are, because like we was never really included.
Sure. Yeah.
Like it don't matter how light skinned we were or nothing like that. They just said, "Oh, we don't care if you light skinned. We don't even give a damn if you like."
Yeah, get over there. Get over there.
Lips too big. Get your ass over there.
Yeah.
And that right there brought us all together, and we was able to build our own districts, our own Wall Streets, and have some form of self-identity, self-pride. Whereas, like you said before, I'm in Colombia. I'm on a date with a chick that can look like my sister, and she tells me she's not Black. But I had to understand. I had to just pull back and not get offended by that, and because her mom is indigenous, and her father is Afro-Black, like jet black.
So when you say, let me stop you there. Sorry. When you say her mom is indigenous, do you mean full indigenous or majority indigenous?
Full indigenous.
Like 100%, like from the soil.
100% from the soil.
Okay, that's unique then. That's not most of it. Okay.
Right, she's built, but her father is like all the way. Her father, like he'll be from Sudan or something.
Oh damn. Okay, so that's okay. I got it. So she came from two extremes. She
looked like a typical Black American girl, bro.
Got it. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And I can't get offended when she says, "Oh, man, I'm not Black." Same thing here in DR when my girl was just like, because she thought I called her a nigga one day, but I was saying, I think what I said.
Because you're speaking Spanish though, right?
I was speaking Spanish. I was like, "No te gusta."
Yeah. I got you.
Bola Grosso, like you don't like black pens. You don't like black pens because on government forms you got to sign in black.
Sure.
I was joking with her that she don't like black pens, and she thought I called her a nigga, and she was like, "Oh, I'm not a nigga. You a nigga." And I'm like, calm your tranquilo a little more. Like I know you're not Black. Like you are Black, but I get what you're saying. Let me catch super chat real quick, man. It's been a good discussion, bro. Like I say, you guys, this is the type of community that we built on the app, bro. Like, if you guys thinking that you're seeing the true Passport Bro perspective, or you know the true Passport community that's on the Facebook group, you wildly mistaken. On the Facebook group Passport Bros, first of all, it's a bunch of bootleg ones that let anybody in. But secondly, there's like this contentious jealousy or something, or hate on the Facebook groups, because a lot of guys are kind of like pocket watching and deriding because they want to be in the position that you guys are in. That's why it's so important for us to kind of have our own little situation where you got guys like myself and JayFocused on there really giving each other information, and also not just supporting, like just not saying, hey, good job, guy. We actually like, oh, that's a dope post. It go $2. It go $3, $4. It go a few bucks, right?
Yeah.
So you get a shout out to my man Shao Kung with a $5 super chat. I really appreciate that. He says, no, nah, bro. Nigerians have pride too. I'm Nigerian. There's no place that bans from Nigerians in Nigeria. Remember, guy, I never said that, yeah, we was the only one.
Nah, he did.
But
Nah.
we deal with harsh, very violent. They were blowing up our churches, killing, like they were doing all types of stuff, bro. Like they had the most lynchings in Georgia out of all places, and because of that, you got this really undertone of war in Georgia. If you listen to some of our music, some of our artists like Pastor Troy and stuff, it's always about we about to get ready to go to war and fight, because we was always kind of the reason that Atlanta the way it is now is because we fought our ass off in Atlanta. Even though they did burn some of our stuff down, they burned our Black district down, we still had race riots and war in Atlanta. They just said damn with it, and they finally gave up. So that's what I mean. Like, I don't know, maybe Nigerians fought back and everything. I'm pretty sure they did, but I'm just saying in our culture, we was always like, the hell with this, we're not taking this no more. That's
I think you were talking more about like the diaspora versus the continent, because it's a different dynamic, right? When you're in your homeland, then of course, you're going to be able to retain a lot of that stuff, because, this is my soil. This is where we literally came up from. But when you're transported somewhere else, then you can run with a different narrative, which is what happened a lot of times, where whoever was running things said, look, you are not this, you are this. And the British had one, perspective, and the Spanish had a different perspective, and the Portuguese had a similar one to the Spanish. I think that's what you were really saying. You weren't, talking about nobody in the mainland, but.
Right. And it's interesting, man, because I'm catching super chats in a second. It's interesting because I know you've noticed this, because I've noticed this. When you go to these Spanish countries, the names of the cities are exactly the same as in other Spanish countries. You ever noticed that? Like San Domingo, DR, San Domingo, Colombia, San Domingo, San Domingo, Spain. Like, you'd be like, damn. So how does that work? Is there certain families that actually own? Because I didn't know in Atlanta, for my Atlanta guys, Candler Road was an actual family name, the Candler family that invested in Coca-Cola. Okay. Like, they were the first foundational investors in Coca-Cola. And they they actually own this road, which makes me think like, okay, do people actually own these cities that we living in? Like, we don't even know the names of the, George Washington Avenue is everywhere. Like, these little terms is everywhere. It's just real interesting to me. Like, when you really just look back, like even when I was in Brazil and I was in Barajuca, me and a friend of mine, shout out my man Zoo, we came up on a statue, right? Just in the middle of a park, bro. Just a random statue of Amerigo Vespucci.
Ah, okay. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And you just like, this the guy that came in and just named the Americas and shit.
Yeah, you know what, man, you about to have me on some whole different shit, man, when it comes to the statues, bro. Because on a certain level, you accept that when it's in Latin America, because that's not our land. We're not indigenous, and well, some people will say we are, but whatever. To Latin America and stuff like that. Now, I'll leave that alone. But anyway, it's not an Afro area, right? But when you go to the continent, you wouldn't expect to see statues to colonizers, right? I don't think you're expecting that, but they do. They still have statues to colonizers all over Africa. I mean, not everywhere. Let me say that for the record before somebody try to correct me. But like in South Africa, for example, you could see in one of my videos in Pretoria, I'm walking around Pretoria and I see this statue of this, 80-foot tall white dude, and he's in, 1700s clothing or whatever, you know, you can tell this is a throwback. This is not a recent politician. And I'm like, hold up, y'all got y'all independence in 1994. In theory, blacks are the majority. It's a democracy. So in theory, that means black people should be running things. Why would you leave a colonizer's statue so people can look up in it in awe, like he was somebody special and to be admired, when y'all don't have any equivalent of a black person? The only person, this is going to get deep. I don't want to get too deep, but the only person only person that they are allowed to, what's the right word? Not heroify, but the only person that they are allowed to look up to in South Africa is Nelson Mandela. He's the only person who gets a statue. No other black person. So you're telling me from the beginning of time to now, he was the only influential South African. But we got all these different white colonizers. There wasn't just one guy. I've seen several different guys who, you know, were of European descent, who they were immortalized. But the only person who got immortalized who was from this soil is Nelson Mandela. And it just a parallel to me to America, where the only one who gets a statue is Martin Luther King, the nonviolent guy, not Malcolm X, not Marcus Garvey, not W.E. Du Bois, not Frederick Douglass. Where's the Frederick Douglass statue at? Maybe there is one, but it's not something that we see. I don't think there is. But you get my point. Like the peaceful guy, the guy who's let's just get along, kumbaya, he's the one we want you people to look up to. Nobody else matters of your skin color. I can accept that on some level in the States because we're the minority, but when you go to Africa and we're the majority, numerically anyway, it's unsettling. It doesn't sit well with me. And not only South Africa, you can see that in some of the islands as well. In Cape Verde, I can't remember. I don't think I saw a statue. I probably did, but I can't remember right away. But yeah, to me, that just doesn't sit well with me. There's some other things about South African culture that I don't really like, but that could be a whole nother live stream. I don't want to get too deep into that one, but
it's very true.
Yeah,
I want to give a shout out to my man Asuma Abdul. You got super chat, man. I really appreciate that. He says, "Does JayFocused do Passportbros consulting calls?"
Yeah, I do consulting. You can reach me on IG, JayFocused, spelled just like this with a 1 at the end. JayFocused1 on Instagram. That's the best way to set up a consultation.
JayFocused, the number 1, right?
Number 1. That's it. JayFocused1 Instagram.
Okay. I just put that in the chat, guys. That's his
Instagram.
All right. Also, I have another super chat here by my man Shahkhan, $10 super chat. Man, I really appreciate that. He says, JayFocused, you visited Nigeria. You wouldn't see a place exclusive to whites. Never. Lagos is ranked number 6 for nightlife in the world. When are you going, bro? So when you putting up in Nigeria, bro?
When am I putting up in Nigeria? You gonna host me, bro? Like what city? You in Lagos? You gonna put me up somewhere, man? Break it down for me. So my itinerary, it changes, you know, so more or less I know where I'm gonna be for like 3 months at a time. Of course it can change, you know, you always got to be flexible in life, but generally I know where I'm going to be for the next 3 months. I don't have any plans in the next 3 months to go to Nigeria, but I'm not ruling it out for the future. So if you're really serious and you want to show me around, you want to, you know, do some content or whatever, you know where to reach me. He just gave it to you. It's my Instagram, JayFocused1. I appreciate the question.
All right, excellent, man. Yeah, guys, go follow my man JayFocused1. If you have any questions, you can set up consultation calls, and also make sure to follow my man's channel. Like he does really dope content, man. You want to tell us a little bit about your channel, and we're gonna go ahead and sum everything up.
Yeah. I mean, you've been showing some stuff from the channel that they can see, but I wanted to say I'm organizing it. It's not here yet, guys. Definitely by the end of the year. It could be ready next month, but I'm going to have my Patreon up and running. So I can launch it now, but the thing is, I want to make sure I have several videos for you so you guys are getting good value for the content that I'm going to provide, because a lot of stuff gets censored on YouTube. And, you know, this is like the PG-13 version of things. You know, there's a grown-up, you know, version as well. And that's going to be behind the scenes if y'all want to know, okay, in this country, what really goes down. Y'all can ask those questions, and I can do videos tailored to that on the Patreon. So keep your eyes out. Look forward to that. If you haven't subscribed to the regular channel, just go ahead and do that right now while you're thinking about it. Got some real good stuff coming up. And one thing about my channel is I'm not going to BS you. If I don't like a country, I'm going to tell you I don't like it. I also go to places that a lot of people don't go to. So if you're tired of just watching 1,000 videos on Medellin, 1,000 videos on Rio, you know what I'm saying? You're going to see a lot. What'd you say?
I was messing with you. I was messing with you.
I'm not sending shots at nobody, man. I'm just saying.
I know you're a peaceful brother.
I know, man. I'm just saying, like, you know what I mean? People get tired. Like, okay, I seen Ipanema enough. You know what I'm saying? So, or Copacabana enough. So yeah, man, I'm showing you guys a whole bunch of different things. And it's not only Africa. I was in Africa, like I said, for 14 months straight. But I'm going to go all over the world again. I've already been all over the world, but there's always new places to go. I'm at 82 countries. So I got at least 30 more to go. You know what I'm saying? So you guys be along with the ride with me.
Okay, yep. I got one more question before you go.
Okay.
One more question. This might be a two-part question. All right.
Yeah.
Say you did a consultation with me and I say, Jay, man, I'm trying to just leave the States. Where should I go? Like, this is my first time living overseas. I might make, let's say, $3,000 a month, you know, remotely. Like, what country would you suggest for a newbie passport bro to pull up in? Okay,
that's a real good question. So I would ask what your interests are. You know what I'm saying? I would break it down. It's going to be tailor-made because there's not a one size. What's up?
Women.
What's up?
That's what's interesting is women.
Well, what flavor, bro? There's so many flavors. It's like you go in the ice cream shop and you be like, yo, my God, what kind of ice cream should I get? I'm like, yo, do you mess with fruit? You know, we could give you the strawberry, we give you the lemon. You know, you hate fruit. Okay, we could do like the cookies and cream. Like you gotta let me know. Like I said, it's going to be tailor-made to the client.
That's a good point. That's a good
point. Because, you know, I could give you some generic advice, but
let's say I like Afro-ish women.
Okay, got you.
It's
all right.
Not me, I'm just saying, just giving, you know.
Yeah. The hypothetical dude. I know we doing a scenario. We're doing a scenario, okay? Right. So you're a brother that likes Afro-ish women. I'm gonna ask you, you know, like, what is your danger tolerance? You know what I'm saying? Because I know some brothers, you know, they might be from, this is not a shot at the Midwest, but they might be from a little town in the Midwest. You know, they never really been around a big city atmosphere. They may not have the street smarts, you feel me? So I wouldn't really want to send this guy like, oh, you need to go to Quibdó, Colombia. Like, what? You know, this little dude from some town in Iowa shows up in Quibdó, Colombia. You know what I'm saying? He don't speak Spanish. He ain't got no street smarts. You know, he might get robbed and get scopolamines and then be looking at me like, Jay, why you tell me to go there? Now I might be talking to a dude from Miami or from New York. You know what I'm saying? He got a little sauce with him. And he might, you know, that might be his environment. You know what I'm saying? He might be, hey, you know, I'm feeling the ground out here. You know, they're respecting me or whatever. So I'm going to tailor it to the individual, and I would need to know like a little bit more about him. But, you know, just off the top of my head, if you're looking for Afro-ish women, you could hit up, obviously, like I said, you could hit up Quibdó, you hit up Cali, Colombia. That's a good place. You could do Brazil, you could do DR. Those are, you know, kind of the easier ones. If you're not a guy who's never really been abroad and you don't want to go too far away, you want to be able to just, you know, jet back in a minute. Those would be kind of the first places I would think of. If you need the girls to speak English, then it gets a little bit easier. I mean, I would tell you Nairobi. I would tell you South Africa. I would tell you Joburg specifically over Cape Town. I would tell you if you're looking for Afro women, not mulattas, like straight Afro, then I would say Joburg or Durban. I would probably tell you, but like I said, it would depend on what your safety tolerance is. If you have a very low safety tolerance, then I would say just go to Kampala, Uganda. Very safe. English, Uber, all the like conveniences we're used to. I don't think you're going to stumble there. You know, if, like I said, if you're checking those boxes, you make a decent wage, like you said, 3K, that's more than enough to live well in Kampala. Yeah, that would be my recommendation for that gentleman.
Okay, man. Excellent, bro. Well, once again, guys, make sure to sub to my man JayFocused. Right, really dope content. Follow him on Instagram, JayFocused #1. And great interview, man. Great interview, bro.
Hey, man, it's a pleasure.
All right, peace.
All right.